Well, hey, folks, and welcome again to the More Summer 2020 Adventures Day 83. Okay, on this is Wednesday, September the 16th, 2020. And we had a fun day today. Um, it was one of those days that I didn't have anything planned. Okay, a lot of times, we'll talk together and we'll say, well, let's do this tomorrow, let's do that tomorrow. And it's kind of a joint thing. Last night we go to bed, we still didn't have any plans on what we're going to do tomorrow. You know, wake up this morning, she fixes me a great breakfast as usual, and we still don't have any idea. So, she gets on her phone and she goes, well, when we're going into town, I saw this sign for these reservoirs. Let's just go check it out. Let's go see what's going on. Okay, so we did. All right, just on the spot, spur of the moment. Okay, why not? I mean, we don't have nowhere else to go. We went to Silverton on the way down here. We went downtown yesterday, and did the museum and walked, the historic area, and even went to the big shopping mecca, and got some things there. So, I mean, it's like, yeah, why not? Okay. So the first one we went to was French Reservoir, right, Mom? Lemon Reservoir, okay. And that was about 14 miles northeast, I guess, if you would, from Durango, all right? And we expected to see, activity. I mean, there is a campground, Miller Campground, and I mean, it's a Forest Service, campground. No boat launches, no businesses, anything of that nature. A lot of private homes, a lot of B&B or vacation rentals, Airbnbs and things like that. Okay, a lot of those up there, all private property. Okay, and I was really surprised the lack of water in the reservoir. And those of you that will be watching, on different social medias, there's pictures. I mean, it's low, really, really low. Okay, so anyway, we went there, and then as we were going up there, I saw the sign for what's the name of the other one, Mama?
I can't pronounce it.
Villarreal, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, I saw the sign for that one, and also for Bayfield. And I'll tell you a story about Bayfield a little bit. So after we go up there to Lemon Reservoir, we come back down. I take a left and go to the other one. And on the way up there, we see this RV park, so we stop because, I mean, it looks nice, and go inside and check it out. And it's, it's a good Sam's. They're only open like 3 or 4 months of the year, okay? And a lot of their rentals, their spaces are long-term, like a month or so, but it's really a nice place, and a lot going on. I mean, there's commercialism in and around this reservoir that we're going to. So then we go ahead and, go on up to the reservoir and check out the little town, the little village, it starts with a V, and folks, I'm not even going to try to say what it is. I mean, I'll butcher it up, something fierce. But went up there, and I mean, they've got a marina and everything, So I stopped. I talked to the guy. That was because in North Carolina, or in Colorado, like in a lot of states, before you can put your water vessel into the water, you have to have it inspected, because there's a lot of foreign or non-native species or bugs or weeds or whatever can be introduced, and it hasn't happened in the past. So now they inspect them, and they have to be wash them down and whatnot. So I went and talked to this guy, and of course we're seeing this forest fire results. I mean, residue. And I asked him, I said, well, is this fire, is that from far too ago? He goes, no, that was 20 years ago. Well, the trees are just sticks because, hey, they were burned up. But a lot of the brush and manzanita bushes and stuff like that are coming back. I mean, they're 5-6 feet tall. It's not just like a New Year growth. but that fire was 2 years ago, or 20 years ago. He said the one that was 2 years ago was actually north of Durango and east of Silverton. And when we came in Monday, we actually came through that burned area, not knowing that that's the fire from 2 years ago. But the guy was really helpful. He had, talk about different things going on in the area, and how a lot of RVs are now on the road and whatnot. People were trying to avoid the cities and COVID, so they buy an RV, then they have to buy a truck or a vehicle to tow that RV, and how the RV parks and resorts and campgrounds and all that had really been busy. He says he's seen a lot of them, being a local, and he lives right across the street from that one I was telling you about. That was really nice that we checked out. So we went ahead, and he says there's another one up the road, in a couple of miles, and you go check it out. He says, it's just a new owner bought it last year, blah 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 blah. So we go to check it out, and on the way we find these carvings, and the highest number that we found was number 16, but we didn't have a map to tell us where each one was. All right, but they're replicas. They're carvings representing something. The first one we saw was a cub, a bear and her cubs. Then we saw one that was a EMT with a bald eagle. Then there was an Oregon firefighter. Then there was you remember what the other one was, Mama? I don't remember either. But we found 4 or 5 of them, and I mean they're beautiful carvings, and they're all along that road. But I say you had to have a map to find out where they were, because we saw number 8, and then a few miles up the road, no, I take that back, a few hundred feet up the road was number 16 or 15. It's like somebody forgot how to count or something. When I say the highest number we saw was 16, but that wasn't near number 8. It was number 15 was. But anyway, beautiful carvings. Wood carvings. And so then we come back, and that same road that I saw on the way to Lemon Reservoir also had the road to Bayfield. So when we come back down from the V Reservoir, I went ahead and went straight instead of turning and going back. And Chris said, "Well, where are we going?" And what's a turn? I said, "No." I said, "What we got? We got nothing to do," knowing that I was headed where I was headed, but she didn't. Okay, and the reason that I wanted to go to Bayfield is because, 7 years ago, the 4 of us stopped there, and there was a hamburger stand, but it was closed. It wasn't out of business; it was just closed because it was the wrong time of the season or whatever. And they had an old squad car, kind of like you'd seen on Andy Griffin's show, okay, and another old vehicle that was all fixed up and everything. And I want to go back and see those. But when we got home years ago from that visit, I was telling a friend of mine, I was coaching his son in baseball. And he says, "Where was this?" And I say, Bayville, Colorado, just outside of Durango. He goes, "That's where I'm from." I thought, wow. Okay. And he, at that time, he was a lieutenant on the Havelock Police Force. And a shout out to the men and women in blue. Okay, I got your 6. Support you all the way, buddy. But so Bayfield has always had an attraction to me for that reason. And the road that we came in on, we came right by the high school. Being a retired high school teacher and baseball, football coach, of course I'm attracted to that. So I was scoping the field out. I always look at the football and baseball fields, to see how the coach is doing, if he's doing his job on the off-field preparation, because you can't just walk on the field and play. It's a year-round job. I learned that one real quick. But anyway, that's why we went to Bayfield. Of course, because of COVID and whatnot, a lot of places were closed and everything, but we did eat at a Mexican restaurant, and the food was very good. And had too much dessert, and both of us, we had a snack tonight because we were still too full from a lunch, and that was only like 2:00, Anyway, Oh, that's good. So we go ahead and come on back here, and then we just lounged around, sat outside. The day was really nice. It was 6 degrees warmer today than it was yesterday. Of course, yesterday they had a front move through and a lot of wind. Today, the wind wasn't blowing. We sat outside in the cool of the evening until it got dark. Really, really nice. Like I said, our plans had been leaving here tomorrow, and we were going to go to Albuquerque and spend a few days there, and then we were going to go to Santa Fe. But Albuquerque is unquarantined. You can drive through it, and you can stop overnight and keep going. But you can't go anyplace, so there's no use for us to go to Santa Fe or to Albuquerque or anything like that because we can't go out and shop. Okay, we can't do the tourist thing, and chances are a lot of places are probably closed. Okay, so we've had to change our plans a little bit. So tomorrow, well, I am not telling you where we're going to be. All right, of course I haven't told you where we're going to be anyway. I'm just saying the plans that had been Albuquerque and New Mexico are no more. All right. But it's going to be a fun place that we're going to go to tomorrow. We're going to spend a couple of nights there. And then for those of you that have been, well, that's okay. I'll tell you later. But anyway, hey, it was a good day today. We really enjoyed it. Chrissy and I both really enjoy the area around, Durango. It's high in elevation. It's 6,210 feet. So it's a little higher than Denver. Yeah, not as high as what Buny is, where I grew up and where I went to high school. But having said that, it's still considerably higher than the 23 feet of Havelock. Okay, but both of us we enjoy Durango, and I have found out that I enjoy the western slope more than what I thought I would. Having grown up on the eastern slope, I always had a negative thought of the western slope, but I hadn't really been here. I mean, I lived in Gunnison or Montrose for a few weeks at the most, maybe a month and a half at the most. Because my job was always out in the mountains, but I lived with my boss and his family. I stayed with them anyway, and that was a short-lived job. But I was always more partial to the eastern slope, and as Christy was asking me today, well, what's that mean? What's this mean? The western slope, the Continental Divide comes down the middle of the Rockies, down the middle of Colorado. So everything to the west of the Continental Divide and the western slope of the mountains is called the western slope. The eastern slope is the eastern slope of the mountains from the Continental Divide eastward. And then in the plains, which is basically Colorado Springs and Denver, Fort Collins, and those areas, Pueblo, those are considered front range. And the front range goes all the way then to the Nebraska or Kansas border. All right. So you've got the western slope, eastern slope, front range. And I've really enjoyed the western slope more so than I thought. Okay, but having said all that and having enjoyed things, let's get on to the scripture for today. Okay, and it's 1 Corinthians 13:1. Though I speak in the tongues of men and angels, but have not love, I have become sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. And one of the simpler versions, if I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. 1 Corinthians 13:1. And folks, we can put on that front of a Christian and go through the motions of a Christian, but if you don't have the genuine God-given love for another individual, what this is saying is you're just noise. Okay? You're just a headache. I mean, you know, the scripture says, I have become sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. You know, and at first I thought, clanging brass. I'm having not been a very good one, but having been in the high school band and the middle school band, I played the saxophone, so I automatically thought about brass being, you know, trumpets, cornets, trombones, baritones, tubas. That was the brass, right? No, that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about the gong, okay? And how annoying. Remember the old gong show and how annoying that sound would be? Or how a cymbal when it falls, or when it's, and accidentally bumped, that annoying clang, ringing in your ears sound, how annoying it can be. That's what we are. He said, even though he's speaking in the tongues of men and angels, and some denominations, religions believe in speaking in tongues in today's society, today's time frame, and I do, and some don't. That's okay. Okay. Bottom line is, do you know Jesus Christ is your personal Savior? All the other stuff will come to you. Okay. But if you go through those motions and you fake speaking in tongues and you put on this holier than thou or I'm a Christian attitude, but you don't love with God's love, that agape love that comes into your heart through Christ, ain't nothing but a fake. You're an annoyance. All right? You're troublesome. Okay? And I pray that you become filled with not only the Spirit, but God's love for one another. Okay? Because that's the true Christian thing, is God's love. Christ tells us, love one another as I have loved you. Okay? Hey, you all be blessed. This has already been a 17-minute video. I don't believe it. Hey, we're going to come to you tomorrow from somewhere near. We have really, really enjoyed, Alpine Rose RV Campground here in Durango, Colorado. But we've got to leave in the morning. So God bless. We'll come to you somewhere else. Good night now.